The year is 2004. CBS News receives photographs from an Iraqi prison called Abu Ghraib. What they show is disturbing. American soldiers forcing prisoners into degrading positions. Humiliation, torture, images that will shock the world. The military has an explanation ready. These are rogue soldiers. Bad actors who went crazy. We've arrested them, punished them, case closed. But that explanation is a lie. Because two psychologists designed this, they weren't soldiers who snapped. They were contractors, paid $80 million by the CIA to develop a program called enhanced interrogation. This wasn't chaos, it was science. The experiment never ended. It just found new subjects, you. But first you need to see what they perfected. September 12, 2001, America wakes up to a new reality. Terrorists attack the homeland, 3,000 dead. The old rules don't apply anymore. But how do you fight an enemy willing to die? The government makes a decision. Take the offensive, hunt down terrorists, arrest them, interrogate them, find out what they're planning next. But there's a problem. How do you make someone talk? How do you break the will of people who believe dying for their cause sends them to paradise? The CIA thinks they have an answer, a psychological theory called learned helplessness. The theory is simple. Break someone's will and they stop resisting. But the CIA's version is different. They're not trying to make terrorists passive, they're trying to remake them entirely. Take someone with a strong identity, someone who sees themselves as a virtuous hero fighting for justice, and transform them into something else. Someone broken, obedient, controllable. So when they start grabbing suspects, they're not interrogating, they're experimenting on human minds. The man behind learned helplessness is Martin Seligman. You might know his other work, Positive Psychology. The theory that teaches you to focus on the good, to reframe negative thinking, to find silver linings. It's the same researcher. One theory breaks people down. The other builds them back up in a specific shape. Coincidence? Maybe not. The CIA starts testing their theory. They grab suspects across the Middle East. Many aren't terrorists at all. Wrong place, wrong time. Mistaken identity. It doesn't matter. They need test subjects. Abu Zubaydah is one of them, a Saudi citizen captured in Pakistan. They waterboard him, strap him to a board, pour water over his face until he's convinced he's drowning. They do this 83 times in 1 month. But he doesn't break, so they escalate. They put him in a coffin, a small box where he can't move, leave him there for hours, sometimes days. Sexual humiliation, sleep deprivation, loud music at crushing volumes. They bring in a woman to try to seduce him. When that doesn't work, they try men, each technique designed to shatter his identity. They're following a script, and if you know your history, you've heard this story before. 5,000 years ago in Egypt, there was a myth about power and control. The god Set murdered his brother Osiris, cut his body into pieces, scattered them across Egypt. Osiris became the god of death, forever broken, forever controlled by the forces that destroyed him. It's a story about how you break someone completely, how you make them dependent on their destroyer. The CIA is recreating this ritual, using the same techniques of systematic destruction. Physical torture, psychological humiliation, the breaking of identity. They're not trying to get information, they're trying to create something new. Here's what the theory predicts. Break someone down completely, destroy their sense of self, and they become passive, controllable, harmless. Turn the terrorist into a citizen. Turn Ra, the hero fighting darkness, into Osiris, the broken victim. But something unexpected happens. The prisoners don't become passive. They become radicalized, more extreme than before, harder, angrier. And when they're released, they don't go home quietly. They form ISIS, the Islamic State, named after Isis, the Egyptian goddess who gathered the pieces of Osiris, who gave birth to Horus, the god of vengeance. You think that's a coincidence? ISIS becomes the most brutal terrorist organization in modern history. Beheadings, mass executions, videos designed to shock and horrify. They sweep across Iraq and Syria, committing atrocities that make the original Al-Qaeda look restrained. And researchers start noticing something. Many ISIS fighters deepened into extremism during time in prisons controlled by the United States. American torture programs didn't break terrorists, they created them. Human Rights First interviews former prisoners. The testimony is consistent. Egyptian prisons, where America sent many suspects for interrogation, became ISIS recruitment centers. The torture didn't stop extremism, it fueled it. So the CIA created ISIS. But was that really an accident, a failed experiment? Think about it. If you actually want information from someone, what's the most effective method? Build rapport, be kind, take them to dinner, offer them money, make them comfortable. We have overwhelming evidence this works. Torture is notoriously unreliable. People will say anything to make it stop. So why torture? You torture because you're trying to create something. Turn these people into secret weapons to be unleashed in the world. The prisoners at Abu Ghraib and the black sites weren't being broken, they were being programmed. The same ritual that created Osiris 5,000 years ago, now applied with modern psychological techniques, drugs, systematic trauma, and if they figured out how to do it to suspected terrorists in the Middle East, what makes you think they stopped there? This wasn't new, they'd been perfecting it for decades. The 1950s and 60s, a program called MK-Ultra, run by a CIA chemist named Sidney Gottlieb. The goal was simple, figure out how to control human minds. For decades, this was dismissed as conspiracy theory, paranoid fantasies about government mind control. Then a few years ago, the CIA admitted it. Yes, we did this. We tested drugs on American citizens without their knowledge. We tried to figure out how to break and remake human consciousness. But we stopped. That was then, not now. Most documents were destroyed, but those that survived reveal some of what they did. They dosed people with LSD in brothels to see how it affected behavior. But that was just the surface. They worked with foreign intelligence services to conduct experiments that would be illegal on American soil. They targeted children, trying to figure out how young you could start the programming. They were testing the Osiris protocol. How much trauma does it take to shatter someone? How do you rebuild them into something controllable? The program officially ended in 1973. Gottlieb destroyed most of the records. We only know fragments of what they discovered. But think about what we do know. They spent 20 years and millions of dollars figuring out how to control human minds. They tested it on thousands of people, and then they just stopped, threw away all that research, decided not to use what they learned? That doesn't make sense. What makes sense is they perfected it and they deployed it. Here's a question. If social control is the goal, why is social media owned by private citizens? Why can Elon Musk own Twitter? Why is Mark Zuckerberg in control of Facebook and Instagram, unless they're not really in private hands? Who built the internet? The US military. DARPANET, the predecessor to the internet, was a Department of Defense project. But here's what most people don't realize. The infrastructure, those undersea cables that carry all global internet traffic, they're not neutral. The US military built them, protects them, monitors them. So when you think Elon Musk owns Twitter or Mark Zuckerberg controls Facebook, you're looking at the storefront. The visible interface. Behind them is infrastructure controlled by military and intelligence agencies. Social media is one deployment, but there's another system people trust even more. Psychology, the field that supposedly helps people. Here's an interesting fact. Psychologists have higher rates of mental illness than the general population. Your therapist is statistically more likely to be struggling with psychological issues than you are. Imagine going to a doctor who's less healthy than you, a fitness trainer who can't do a push-up, a financial advisor who's bankrupt. And here's another thing. How many people do you know who got significantly better after seeing a psychologist? Not slightly more functional, actually healed, actually transformed. I'm sure it happens. But think about your own experience. How many people have you seen stay in therapy for years, paying someone every week, and their lives don't fundamentally improve? If you broke your leg and the doctor treated it for years without improvement, you'd find a new doctor. You'd question whether they knew what they were doing. But with psychology, we're told the process takes time. Keep coming back, keep paying, keep talking about your childhood. Meanwhile, your leg is still broken. So what if therapy isn't about healing? What if it's another deployment of the same technique? Keep you focused inward, keep you talking about your feelings instead of questioning the system. Keep you manageable, never looking at what's being done to you. Look at the pattern: torture chambers, social media, therapy sessions, different delivery systems, same principle. Every society needs social control. That's not controversial. The question is how it's done. 5,000 years ago in Egypt, they used the Osiris ritual. Break the individual, make them dependent. Today we have mass media, mass education, mass psychology. You are Osiris. Of course, this is speculation, theories. I'm not claiming to know exactly what happened in Egypt 5,000 years ago or in CIA black sites. I'm showing you patterns, connections, possibilities. You decide what's true. But if even part of this is real, you need to understand what it means. The techniques they perfected on prisoners didn't stay in black sites. They scaled. Social media that keeps you scrolling, therapy that keeps you inward focused, education that teaches obedience, media that fragments your attention. You're not in a torture chamber. You're in something more subtle, something that doesn't need chains because you don't even see the walls. They said it was about terrorism, about keeping you safe. It was about control, and the primary target was never in the Middle East. It was always you,